Here we are. This is the day that No Huddle Necessary is made, and rejoice in it. So I am joined, as always. I'm going to look, I guess, directly to that direction. And you'll see there the baby-faced assassin himself, Brock Viarra. And directly beneath him, you'll see my Mellow, my man, Mr. Mellow Williams. And if you will look, I guess next to him, going, I guess directly beneath me, you will see Steve Rogers, our own trademark infringement-free captain. So with no further ado, ladies, gentlemen, and all the ships at sea, let's do a show. So some things have changed. Some things have remained the same since the last time we met. So I'm going to start with you, my Mellow, my man. Tell me from week 5, the week that was, tell me a game, a particular game that you think definitively disproves something, a belief, a statement that you heard either from yourself, it's okay, you get out yourself, or one of the panelists. Take some stance, a take that they made that was unraveled, that was dismantled by a game.
I guess
I'm going to start off with Buffalo Bills. I'm just going to start off with Buffalo. Buffalo have showed me a lot, to have, I feel, the best defense in the league right now. Even though Philly has the best record, I certainly feel that the Buffalo Bills is the best team in football right now. For them to be able to continue to win, for that defense to somewhat still dominate, they played Pittsburgh, and then they held Pittsburgh to 3 points. So I still have to give a lot of credit to that defense, regardless that they was playing the Steelers, and with Kenny Pickett being a rookie and, everything going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense situation. I just like what Buffalo is doing right now. I believe they are really going to be in the Super Bowl in February, and they're just the team to beat.
Okay. So that disproved what point that someone else made or yourself made?
The point that I made, and I feel pretty much the whole panel has made as well, that Buffalo is real. Okay.
So how was that disproven?
How can it be disproven?
How was it disproven? So
I thought you said how it was proven.
No. That's why I sent it on the rundown with the word disproven. Okay. No, off to a rough start. Okay, so I'll give you a moment to pull yourself together and try to reformulate your argument, and we'll move on to our captain, while you try to rethink. So, Steve, once again, just to make sure, the word is disprove. So that means that something that happened this past week disproved either something that you yourself might have thought or said on the show, or something someone else might have thought or said on this show.
Yeah, I guess I also misread that. I went with going with proving a fact that I was already spoken on. So I guess I am ill prepared as well for disproving.
That's fine. Moving on. Okay, we're moving through this thing. We're going to get there, kids. Okay, so that brings us to the babyface assassin. Let's see if he managed to both read and understand the rundown. Uh-oh, and now we've got no sound. Here we go. One more time. 2 more times. Okay, you don't seem to be muted, but no one can hear you. Can anyone hear him? Because I can't. Okay, we're moving. Work on that. And I will now give my Mellow, my man, a chance to redeem himself. Okay, here we go, Mellow.
Yeah, you clearly have proves or disproves as an option to this first question.
Oh, okay, fine. I'll allow it. Oh, and then Brock's back. Okay, let's see if we can hear him now. Try again, Brock. Nope. All right. I will go back to my Mellow, my man. Well, actually, you know what? Well, then your point stands, Mellow. Okay, fine. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
All right. Week 5, a point that was proven. I'm
Nope.
gonna go ahead and jump into this and take this moment to gloat on my own glory of calling my shot last week. Bullseye hit the mark dead on. The Giants pulled off the miracle of miracles in London and beat Green Bay. The supposed that everyone is just wonderfully in a la la land, just gonna wander through the season without having to actually win games to get to the NFC Championship. Whatever. And anyway. Green Bay losing again. No good. They aren't.
Okay. That was
Nope.
okay. Oh, well, I didn't know if you were done or not.
Oh, yeah. No, they're closer to unraveling than gelling that everyone thinks is just going to suddenly happening. Maybe they should call Dr. Scholl's and try some gel inserts in their shoes, and maybe they might get this gelling thing to happen. I don't think it's happening.
Okay.
The
Now, okay, I couldn't tell if you were done. Is that it?
You got to go ahead.
Oh, okay. Got it. Now we're going to try again with the babyface assassin himself, Brock Viarra.
Hello.
There
Yes!
it is.
Hey. All right. Finally. So, sorry. What was the question? Not technical difficulties. Unfortunately.
Okay. So, as Steve pointed out, I was hoping for disproves because disprove is more interesting, but I did put proves or disproves. I shouldn't have. I should have just put disproves because I'm hoping for disproves, but I'll open the door for it. What thing that happened in the games that took place last week either proves boo or disproves yay something that either you yourself or someone else has said on the show?
Well, I said that the Rams are going to miss the playoffs, and the Rams are also going to lose to the Cowboys last week. Of course, they did lose to the Cowboys, and then they don't look too good right now, sitting at 2-3. I mean, quite frankly, over 160 rushing yards they've given up. The Rams are set to start their fourth center in, 6 games? Cam Akers is only rushing for about 30 yards a game. Henderson's only rushing for about 27, not really great. Ben Skoranek statistically is their second best wide receiver on that team. You take away Cooper Kupp from that offense, and they're the worst team in the league pretty much from the offensive standpoint. Matt Stafford, he's still dealing with his injury. He has 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. And you look at a guy like Allen Robinson. I've been hopping on it for weeks and weeks and weeks. He's not being utilized to his strengths. That's a dude that can run the entire route tree. That's a dude that's the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. That's a dude that you gave up Robert Woods for in order to get because you thought he was going to improve your team. He clearly has not been utilized to his strengths, and that comes down to both quarterback and coaching. And McVay seems over his head. The defense is definitely not where it used to be. And when you look at their schedule coming up, they got a lot of tough games that they got to get over. Next week they play the Panthers. So that should be an easy win. But after that, the schedule gets much more difficult. Then you still got to go to Seattle. You still got to play the Niners again. And then the Cardinals always just maybe throw 1 or 2 wins in there. You never know when it comes to them. But for proving something, definitely the Cowboys are going to beat the Rams. That definitely happened. And then obviously the Rams looking to repeat as world champions. It's not looking too good right now.
Got it. Okay, and that brings us to Mr. Smiles himself, Steve Atkinson. What thing that happened last week either proved or disproved a point that maybe you or someone else on the show made? Oh, boy. Steve?
Oh, no.
All right. You know what? It happens. It happens, even in the best of families. Okay. I will move on to our next segment, and hopefully that'll get worked out. So, in our next segment, we're going to have a little quick look at a discussion, a delving into, if you will, the ever-popular contender or pretender. So, a game from the past week, the week that just passed, that proved, in your mind, definitively that team is a contender, and then a game that proved definitively in your mind that a team is a pretender, a team that is not going to make the playoffs. So I will start with our captain. I will start with you, Steve Rogers.
All right, here we go. Yes, I know it was only the Bears, but in fact, I believe the Vikings had a game that proved themselves to be a contender. Yet again, they let themselves get behind, only to rise to the occasion, putting together a 17-play drive. Yes, 17-play drive. Not many of those happen in the NFL. Converting on 5 third-down conversions along the way to punch in the first Chicago second-half touchdown that they've given up all year. Props to them. Went up by a touchdown, didn't get a dinky little field goal, and barely squeak out a win. They got the touchdown, put a stamp on it, and the defense got a turnover to really shut the door. They're legitimately 4-1. They're 3-0 in the division. No other team in the NFL is undefeated in their division, or at least 3 undefeated in their division. So bring it on. The Vikings are not going anywhere. They're legit. They're for real. Ask Marcus Spears. He said the same thing.
Well, shout out to Swagoo. And Swagoo, you're invited to come on and either buttress the statement that was just made by your apparently close friend and colleague, Steve, or to let him know that he should stop stalking you. So I'm going to go back to our other Steve to complete the Steve sandwich. So, Steve, you've got 2 segments to do all at one time. The first one was something that has happened in the games that you just saw that you thought either proves or disproves a point that either you or someone else on the show has made. And then you can roll directly from that into what we're doing in this segment, which is what game you think definitively proved that at least one team is a contender, and what one game that you saw that you, in your mind, definitively proves that a team is a pretender, meaning they will not make the playoffs. Go!
All right, so sorry about that. I had some connection issues. The Patriots beating the Lions this past week proves Bill Belichick can still prepare the Patriots to beat bad competition. They did it with Brady in the last year. In Brady's last year in 2019, they beat the Giants, the Browns. In 2020 with Cam Newton, they beat the Raiders. They beat the Jets twice, the Ravens, the Cardinals, and the Chargers. 2021 last year with Mac Jones. They beat the Jets twice, the Texans, the Chargers, the Panthers, the Browns, the Falcons, and they also beat the Titans, but the Titans were missing some key guys. And then in 2022, they just beat the Lions with Bailey Zappi, which proves Bill can still has it against bad competition. He hasn't lost his fastball when it comes to that. So being on the hot seat was a little bit strong probably when it comes to that regard. As for the game the past week that proved to be a contender, I'm going to say the Dallas Cowboys. Now that they have a real quarterback competition between Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott, the Cowboys just surprised everybody and beat the Rams, defending Super Bowl champions, at home in their own house. And the team that's a pretender, I'm going to say the Rams, because I think they have a Super Bowl hangover. I think they were the team to beat in the NFC, but they just lost to Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. So, I think the NFC is wide open.
Okay. Welcome back, Steve. You, sir.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's just the warmth and the passion and your beautiful smile all back. And now the show is really a real show. Okay. Moving forward, I'm going to jump down to my Mellow, my man. Tell me one game that you think proved that one team at least was definitively a contender and one is a pretender. Oh, boy. Okay, now you're muted, Mellow. Unmute, Mellow.
Okay, there we are. All right. All right, I'm going to say the Cowboys as being a true contender. I like what they're doing. The offense, I feel, looks a lot better with Cooper Rush under center than it has with Dak. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Dak, but the offense just has a different bounce to it for me. They just seem like they are in more fluidity when they out there. Just seem like they're together. A pretender, I'm going back to the Vikings. The Vikings, Steve says that the Packers isn't all this. So, beating the Packers week 1, it can't mean too much of a win if the Packers isn't as good as Steve said they are. They played the Eagles. They got smashed 24-7. They played the Lions. They had one of the best offensive teams in the league. However, defensively, they're not that good of a team. They barely beat them 28-24. Then they played the Saints. They beat them 28-25. And then the Bears, as he just spoke on about the Bears, they are the Bears. So, yes, they're 3-1 or 4-1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-1. But their wins isn't quality wins. So I believe when they have to see teams like Philly, we're gonna see who Minnesota really is. So I got them as my pretender right now.
Got it. Well, good. Now we are exactly 16 minutes in the show. Finally, some shots are fired. And continuing, probably, I'm going to move now to the babyface assassin himself, Brock Viarra.
Yes. Well, before I get started, now that we're finally back into the swing of things, just want to shout out Captain Steve Rogers. 4th straight week with a fire fit. Well done. Now, getting back to the question at hand, the contender, I got to say, is my Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, when you look at what they did at the Browns, there was absolutely no reason they should have won. Not only are they on a 2-week straight road trip where they first went to Houston, now they're in Cleveland. They were out. Their starting left tackle, Rashawn Slater, no Joey Bosa. You had Keenan Allen out. You're going against one of the best rushing teams, if not the best rushing team in the NFL, against a defensive line that last year ranked dead last, and this year hasn't improved that much more than last year. You alongside the fact that, again, you're dealing with the fatigue and everything. Your head coach is kind of an idiot. It's sad to say, unfortunately, but he's kind of stupid. I'm not going to lie. And they were able to pull it off through some miracle. It happened. You started free safety, got benched for Alohi Gilman, Nazir Adderley, but Justin Herbert got done. Austin Eckler had a huge day on the ground. And even though Nick Chubb gashed them early, they were able to kind of put it together defensively towards the end of the game and able to get some much-needed stops when needed. Especially when you look at what Brandon Staley called. At the end of the game, it was about 1:14 left. They decided to go for it on 4th and 2 on their own side of the 50. Why? I don't know. But what they needed to do is they take a stop right there in order to try and force a long field goal. That's exactly what they did, and the field goal missed. They got out of there with a victory. Not only do they have the quarterback that can take them to the next level, they're going to get Keenan Allen back. J.C. Jackson will eventually get into form as we expect. But Asante Samuel Jr. has proven that he can be a cornerback 1 in this league. You still have Derwin James, one of the best safeties in this league. You still have Khalil Mack, who has had a monster start to the season so far. And when you look at the rest of the AFC besides the top dogs, the Bills, the Chiefs, right now division leaders, Ravens, and the Titans are the leaders in the South, who really can match up with them? The Jets are going to go back to being the Jets, as we all know. Since he's in a world of hurt right now, the Steelers are clearly not the same Steelers of past years. They already have the tiebreaker over the Browns. The only real team you got to worry about right now is Jacksonville, because Jacksonville owns a tiebreaker over them, but they just lost to Houston at home. So maybe they're not as good as we thought they were. When you look at the rest of the AFC, the Chargers put themselves in a very good position where if they're able to beat Denver next week on Monday night, they'll be true contenders in the AFC. When you look at who's the pretender, it's another AFC West team. It's clearly the Broncos. They had such a horrible performance against the Colts. It's not even funny to think about. I thought this was the last game of football I ever wanted to watch. It was so disgusting. It just left a sour taste on my mouth. You have Javonte Williams out for the season. Garrett Bowles out for the season. Ronald Darby is out for the season. Not only that, your running back room is horrible with Boone and Melvin Fumbler Gordon. Russell Wilson has proven that he's not a top 5 quarterback, not a top 10 quarterback. Is he even a top 15 quarterback in the NFL at this point? I don't know, but I can't really say it is. You got KJ Hamler slamming his helmet on the ground. It's just a complete mess. You got the head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, talking about that final 4th down play, saying we ran a play that Russ Lake kind of taking responsibility off his shoulders, even though he's the offensive play caller. Nathaniel Hackett is over his head, as we mentioned. He doesn't want to take responsibility for his actions, and quite frankly, he can't manage a football team. The secondary is still good, but do they really have a true pass rush? They do have Nick Bonito, but he got hurt. They have Browning, who showed some excellent promise, but we don't know if that will be sustainable. They still have Bradley Chubb, so at least you got one piece, but the offensive line is going to get a lot better. And when you look at their schedule, can we truly say that where the Broncos are going to turn it around? I don't see it. That's why they're my pretenders.
All right. Well,
hey, real quick, though, I forgot to drop my pretender on you guys. So let me jump in real quick and give you my pretender. Staying right here in the NFC North, big shocking surprise. I believe that the Packers, who has been all year long, preseason, and all the way up until now, while they're still losing and fumbling along themselves, are being proclaimed as somehow going to win the NFC North or any other kind of playoff position for that matter. Has anyone noticed what their future schedule holds? Let me just look at the captain's crystal helmet here. They have 3 consecutive road games. The middle of those is going to Buffalo. Anyone want to tell me that they're going to win that game? I don't think so. They also have to play the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. Let me know if the team that got trounced by them, us, is that we also beat in week 1 is somehow going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles team. Again, I don't think so. They also have to see that Dallas Cowboys defense. You think Aaron Rodgers is going off against them? I, again, don't think so. Micah Parsons, sack lunch. Here we go. Goodbye, Green Bay.
And finally, the first quarter in.
The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamnbsmerch.com. Get yours today.
And now we begin the second. Now we've done looking back. Now we can start looking forward. And I will start with Brock Viarra, the babyface assassin. Which week 6 game, Brock, do you think is the maybe not. I'm starting then with Steve Atkinson. Tell me, of the week 6 games, which one is the one that's most intriguing to you?
All right, so I'm going to stick with the Patriots and go. They're playing the Browns this week. Mac Jones could be back for the first time since the ankle injury during the Ravens game. And the Zappy fever that everybody's talking about around here in New England, that he's better than Mac Jones, will finally be put to rest. And people will realize the Browns are like the Lions, same bad team, just a different location. You should be able to win the game regardless who's quarterback of this game, the Zappy or Jones. It doesn't matter who's the quarterback, but they should definitely win this game, the Patriots.
Okay. I will now go to my Mellow, my man. Same question. Which is the week 6 game that you find most intriguing?
I have to go in the NFC East with the Cowboys and the Eagles, and I just want to say this. I cannot believe that I'm speaking this much in favor and positive about the Dallas Cowboys. It's just weird to be doing this. However, I'm paying attention to that game. I think Mike McCarthy said that Cooper Rush probably will be starting that game. He wants to see a full week of practice from Dak before he inserts him back into the lineup. Philly is undefeated. They win this game. That is giving them more separation in the NFC East. And I just believe it's a true test, again, for both teams.
All right. And I will now go to, I guess, our captain, our own duty-free captain, Steve Rogers.
All right. So, Mello, once again, I think while we are looking over each other's notes, please stop cheating. So many good games that we have this week to choose from. I also took the Eagles Cowboys for, again, many of the same reasons. The Eagles have a dominant defense. The Cowboys have a dominant defense. Jalen Hurts is establishing himself as one of the top quarterbacks. And I just want to see whose offense can really shine against whose defense. And also, again, it's a NFC East rivalry matchup to decide who's on top of the division. And also, it's a decades. I don't know how, Bill, you can probably go how far back the Eagles and Cowboys rivalry goes and how deep the feuding is. I mean, there are fisticuffs in the stands usually over these games. So I can't wait to see this clash happen.
Yeah, so it goes back to the birth of the Cowboys, right? So that's 1960, which was, of course, the last time that the Eagles, prior to the Super Bowl, less than won a championship, right? The Concrete Charlie and the Dutchman, right? Ben Brocklin, Sid Gilman was the offensive coordinator. But let me not go too far down memory lane because I could do a whole show about the 1960 Philadelphia Eagles, but I won't. So I will now move on to our next segment, and we're going to talk a little bit about Ironically, unfortunately, the man for whom this segment was designed had to step away for a moment. We should be back. It's called Fired or Wired. I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5. Yeah, 6. Total of 6 coaches. And you can tell me for each one if they're fired or wired. Fired meaning fired. Meaning that either by the end or maybe before the end of this particular season, they will be looking for another line of employment. Or wired means that they right the ship, close out strong. And so I will start with my Mellow, my man.
Let's get it.
Let's do it. So I'm going to give you a coach, and you tell me if that coach is fired or wired. I will start with Carroll.
Oh, he's wired. Pete Carroll's good.
Okay. Cliff Kingsbury out there in the desert.
Cliff just got a 5-year extension. You know, even though their money isn't against the cap, I believe he's going to get another year at least. D. Hopkins isn't back yet, so I believe he's going to get he's free. So I will say that he's wired.
Okay. Josh McDaniels.
Oh, he's fired. It's out of there. Not just the way that they lost games, just bad management of games, play calling. The teams, the players are starting to question him and things like that. Mark Davis, you know, he has a real short leash when it comes to coaches. He don't mind moving coaches around. He'll pay you your money, get up out of here. So I believe Josh McDaniels is fired.
Okay. Ron Rivera.
Ron is up out of there, especially with the last comment that he made, throwing his quarterback Carson Wentz underneath the bus the way he did. Even though he came back to try to clean it up, what was said is what was said. So Washington, he's in his 3rd season. He's 1-4 this year. He has a 15-23 overall record, 0-1 in the playoffs. He's fired.
Okay. And last but not least, we're going to finish up with a coach that, you know, obviously is a newer coach, but Arthur Smith in beautiful Hotlanta.
It's time to get up out of there. I don't know if his seat is hotter than Hotlanta. However, his seat is very hot. Arthur Blank, he's another coach owner that's all about winning, and he takes pride in winning. So I believe that even though this is his 2nd year, he's not the coach cut out for the Falcons. It's a decent amount of talent there, but he's not showing enough to stay there. So I believe he's fired.
Okay. I will then go to Steve Rogers, my captain. Once again, we're going to play the game sensation that's sweeping the nation. Fired or wired. So I'll start with, of course, the oldest coach or second oldest. It's between, I'm sure which one's oldest. I think he's the oldest, either he or Belichick, with Pete Carroll out there in the great Northwest.
All right, so with Pete Carroll, I actually don't think he's in jeopardy this year. I think he could go 500 with Geno Smith, and he'll be fine. I'm kind of in shock, everyone, in saying that he's actually overachieving. That they might actually be my dark horse to win the 7th seed wild card in the NFC this year, the way they're playing currently. So I think he's wired. I think he's good.
Okay. Next coach is, of course, the man who we got to see his beautiful conversation nook and his Ferragamo loafers during the draft a couple years ago, Mr. Cliff Kingsbury.
Again, same thing as Melo said. He just got the extension. I think it'd be hard to go firing the guy that same year you offer him 5 years more of and all that money. So I think he's at least tied up for like Melo said, 1 more year, maybe 2. But yeah, I think he's also wired.
Okay. Josh McDaniels in Las Vegas.
Josh McDaniels in Las Vegas. I think he's got to be the top of the list of the fireds. I mean, really, Monday night proved it for me. His team jumped out to a 17-point lead at Arrowhead, and I just sat back in my chair and laughed and said, all right, how fast is Mahomes and company going to erase that lead, and how big are they going to win by? I mean, I was never even concerned at any point that the Las Vegas Raiders were going to win against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Are you kidding me? They're going nowhere, and it's probably all his fault. It's time for the world and Las Vegas to realize that Devontae Adams and Derek Carr, honestly, are more talented than Josh Daniels, and someone else can coach them better than he can.
All right. And moving on, of course, to our nation's capital, the commander-in-chief of the Commanders, Ron Rivera.
All right. I think Ron Rivera actually deserves the opportunity to prove himself and get to draft the quarterback that he's always wanted and get to actually build around that he was discussing in his point. Not so much that he was throwing shots at Carson Wentz directly as it was taken and out of context to be so. So I think they have to actually give him a chance like he did with Cam Newton. They went to a Super Bowl doing it, building around that way. So I think he deserves a shot at proving his words and what he was putting out to the public. So I think he's going to be wired for another year or two, but it could be getting rocky for him.
Now you can hear me. Moving on now to the scion of the FedEx empire, Arthur Smith. Fired or wired?
See, Arthur Smith in Atlanta, I don't know a whole lot about, and they're going through so much turnover and rebuild. I think, again, he might get one more year to actually see what he can do with all that young talent before they go just dumping it all over again, because I think they just got through doing that with Dan Quinn. So I think he's going to get another year. I'm going to stick him on wired.
Okay. And let's see. I'm going to check real quick. Brock is not back. So this would have been his favorite thing in the whole world. Sorry, Brock. Cannot wait for you. We got to keep this train moving. So we're going to take.
I've got a bonus coach if you want me to throw some extra shots out.
Yeah, as much as exciting as fun as that would be, we actually have to get in some very important messages.
Want you to see everything. Want you to see all of the lights. I tried to tell you, but all I can say is.
In the third quarter, gentlemen, I want you to take a moment, just a moment, to think about the predictions you would like to make. So, I will start with Steve Atkinson. I want you to call your shots. Think about something that you feel strongly about will happen. So tell us about something we'll be talking about the next time we all meet.
I'm going to pick the Giants over the Ravens. I think the Giants are a sneaky good team with a new coach. They got rid of Joe Judge, and I think they got some stability now. And they got a sneaky good team. I'm going to pick the Giants over the Ravens.
Okay. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. That doesn't sound crazy. Well, at least not now it doesn't. I will once again keep the Steve sandwich going and go to our duty-free captain, Steve Rogers. Call your shot, Steve.
All right. So jumping into the calling our shot segment, it worked out for me last week, so I'm going right back to the New York wishing well and calling them a shots. Jets, Jets, over the Packers in Green Bay. Let's go, New York. Take them down 2 weeks in a row and really put the hammer and nail in the coffin of that whole season. Stick a fork in them. They're done.
Okay. Excellent. And I have give the anchor leg of this journey to my Mellow, my man. Call your shot, sir.
I'm calling my shot. I want to go with Pittsburgh over Tampa Bay. I'm going to make it a little bit more interesting, though. I'm going to go out there to the AFC West, and I'm going to pick the Broncos. Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett will finally have one good game together where everyone is on page, and they will upset the Los Angeles Chargers.
Ooh. Oh, Brock. Oh.
I mean, I just want to say I think I am like maybe 3-2 on predictions, upsets. I did call Houston over Jacksonville last week, so I'm confident about Russell Wilson on Wisconsin. Bucky the Badger will come through for me.
I love it. I am a fan of that. Okay, so we are going to begin the fourth quarter. Okay, so very close as it always is. So I'm going to give you guys an audible. That's right. You didn't get a chance to prepare. We'll see who can think on their feet. So I'm going to ask you guys. I'll start with you, Steve Atkinson. Give me a rookie, an NFL rookie that you think announces themselves this upcoming week, week 6, shows that they belong and helps their team win the upcoming game in week 6.
Well, I'm going to go with the rookie I know. And if Bailey Zappi starts for the New England Patriots on Sunday against the Cleveland Browns, I think he shows that he belongs in the NFL. He came in after Brian Hoyer in the Green Bay game, proved that he was capable of not soiling himself, right, against Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field in front of that, massive crowd and everybody watching on prime time, right? And then last week against the Lions, they only scored one offensive touchdown, but again, he didn't poop himself. The moment wasn't big for him. He was composed. He was poised. He made the plays that he was supposed to do. He's a yes guy to Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, and Bill. And if he does start this week against Cleveland, I think that people will start to notice and realize that this kid could have a successful career as maybe a backup or maybe a starter on a team in the NFL.
Well, Steve Atkinson, I want to say I speak right now for the equipment management crew at Gillette Stadium. We are very thankful that he indeed did not soil himself. Because it's a tough enough job anyway. So thankfully, they didn't have that extra thing to deal with as they do their jobs. And shout out to the equipment management staff. They deal with, like I said, a lot as it is. So thankfully, that was not one thing. I will now, I'm going to put a slab of very beautiful dark meat between the Steve Sandwich this time, and we're going to have Mellow, my man, Mellow Williams. Give me a rookie that you think puts their stamp on week 6.
Sauce Gardner, the cornerback with the New York Jets. Even though Steve, my man, said that he want to see the Jets take down the Go Pack Go, Sauce Gardner, if that happens, he's gonna be the reason for that. He's pretty much a lockdown corner, shutdown corner. He's probably the best player, defensive player the Jets have right now. And it's probably the answer for a lockdown corner that they've been looking for since Darrelle Revis. So I'm going to go with Sauce Gardner to continue proving his worth and his weight in the NFL.
Okay. And now, bring it on home, my captain, Steve Rogers. Who's your rookie that you think helps to win this week?
Helps to win this week. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to actually agree with Sauce Gardner and the New York Jets that I've already picked as my upset pick. So I'm gonna just take their rookie from them and say he's gonna have a big game that helps. Maybe get another interception off Aaron Rodgers that helps them get the victory.
All right. This has been a really interesting week. And for you, lucky gentlemen, you didn't have to really compete against the babyface assassin. So that narrows the field. After, you know what? Give me a moment. I'm doing some math. Here it comes. So, I am about to present our winner, our champion for this week, and that gentleman is my Mellow, my man, Mellow Williams. Take it away, Mellow.
Okay. Finally, it started off rough. I thought it was starting off rough. I thought I read the question correct. Steve, thanks for reassuring that. My words for this week is Pittsburgh has to get it together. Mike Tomlin, please don't stop with making changes with just benching Mitch Trubisky. Keep going. I read reports where you said Matt Canada isn't the problem, that you believe in him. Coach, that's the wrong thing to do. We can't expect too much more out of Pittsburgh's offense if Matt Canada continues calling the plays how he's calling. And one last thing, Brett Favre, please just save face. The text messages out there. You are caught. Admit your wrongs and move on.
Well, and I don't want to go too far down the Brett Favre hole because he tried to show that to a young lady, I believe, back when he was in New York. The facts of what has happened are the kinds of things that this man is used to escaping from, right? The same way he used to escape from possible tacklers. He's used to trying slipping away from various misdeeds. And he's used to getting away with stuff. That's something he's used to. And I'm hoping that the aura of success and all the things he's done in the league will not enable him to simply slip free from this. A lot of attention and frankly a lot of entitlement. Something's wrong with these guys, particularly guys who are superstars. Not just players, but guys who are superstars. The world treats them differently. And they're used to thinking that, for some of them at least, not all, but for some of them, that maybe that puts them in a category where they can do things that other people can't do, and that, they won't be visited by, John Law or whoever would be late. If you or I committed a similar act, who would be visiting. My hope is that, one, he does come clean, and I truly believe, especially since we're such a giving nation, particularly quarterbacks liked, and he said, hey, I'm a country boy, I did something wrong, I'm sorry, or whatever. He might not put it quite that way. He probably could and get away with this Brett Favre. Yeah, you're right. People will probably move on from it, but he's a little too proud. Apparently, he's trying to, say that, I didn't understand. Okay. We know you took a lot of shots to the head, but you clearly understood. As Melo pointed out, there's text messages saying, "Hey, we're not going to get caught if we do this, right? I mean, my name can't be tied to this." If you didn't really understand that you were so wrong, you probably would be trying to distance yourself from the blame ahead of time. Just me. So, first of all, I do want to thank each and every one of you. And I want to give you guys a little bit to announce what you're doing. So, I'll start with Steve Atkinson. What are you up to? What's going on? What should people look for? And where can they find and follow your work, sir?
So, I'm doing cover the Patriots for nutsandboltsports.com and the Boston Celtics as their season starts next week. For Nuts and Bolts Sports, you can also follow me on Twitter at SteveA1127.
All right. And that moves us to my captain. Steve, the other Steve Rogers. What are you up to? Where can people find your work and follow you, sir?
All right, yeah, I am going to continue to be pushing out articles, writing for Mental Sports, always weekly about the Vikings whenever possible. And the sports team here in Minnesota is just on the swoon and exploding here as we've got the wild season opening up here tomorrow night against the New York Rangers. The Loons that I am drafted in are in the playoffs in the MLS Cup Series on Monday, and the Wild and the Vikings are right in the thick of the NFC with themselves being in first place in their division, and the Wolves start the week after. I can't get it. There it is, behind somewhere.
Okay.
So we got sports everywhere. Minnesota is on the scene. If anyone is unaware, the Wild are ready, and the Wolves have a great squad. I think they're set for a playoff push as well. So everyone is seeing themselves in the playoffs here in Minnesota.
And speaking of people who can come back from seemingly anything, we have been rejoined by the babyface assassin himself, Brock Viarra. So, Brock, unfortunately, votes were tabulated. You were not able to really be considered for the winner spot, but we couldn't really consider this show a success if you didn't get a chance to participate in the game sensation that's sweeping the nation, and frankly, inspired by you, the game of Fire to Wired. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a little Fire to Wired and maybe a little Hired or Tired since you've joined us, and we're going to talk about starting with a few coaches, and you can tell me if they are fired, which I'll explain, or wired, meaning that they pull it together and make their way all the way to the wire, meaning it's the end of the season, closing it out strong. So we're going to start with Pete Carroll. Is that man fired or is he wired?
So that man is going to be wired. So one, just want to say sorry, guys. Life never stops, unfortunately, during this show. Had to take care of something that came up, unfortunately, from my work life. But now I'm back. I'm ready to get back into it, ready to fire and wire some coaches. Pete Carroll, definitely wired. I mean, when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, they've really set themselves up for a really good 2023, and they might have a quarterback before they even need to draft a new one. We expected Seattle to kind of build up their roster, which they did by getting guys like Charles Cross, Abraham Lucas, and Kenneth Walker in order to go and get one of the top quarterbacks in this year's draft. But Geno Smith has been balling without a doubt. His offense is brand new and revamped and exciting and explosive, something we haven't seen from the Russell Wilson era in a second. And they're consistently making things happen. It may not always end up being a scoring drive or a scoring play or things of that nature, but they do look more dangerous than we expected them to be. So Pete Carroll, for sure, he has to be wired. And when next draft comes around, they're going to bring a lot of pieces and probably one of those quarterbacks, and then Geno will probably be the bridge for them.
Okay. And that brings us to our next coach, who we're going to find out. The one that when he comes to pick up his kids or come to parent-teacher conference, that all the single moms hang around the school. That, of course, would be Cliff Kingsbury out there in the desert. Is he maybe the handsomest coach currently in the NFL? Is he fired or wired?
Well, he will fortunately be able to pick from the single housewives of Phoenix for the next year because I have him wired. We forget the fact that they're missing their number one wide receiver, who's the top three wide receivers in the league, in DeAndre Hopkins. His offense is still very, very explosive. The defense is a little bit underrated. They're not good. They're not great. But they have some pieces that make you step back and go, hold up, wait a minute. And guys like Brian Murphy, guys like Buda Baker, Bo Allen has really taken the next step up this year. And J.J. Watt still has offensively. Hollywood Brown has had a resurgent year, or maybe his breakout season, you could say. 38 receptions, 417 yards, and 3 touchdowns up to this point. His hands look good. He's still a speedster. Greg Dortch has had a phenomenal breakout as well. Rondell Moore looks to be one of the more exciting and more shifty wide receivers in the NFL. And then when you bring in a guy like DeAndre Hopkins back, along with, of course, AJ Green is still on the field, but he's showing his age. When you bring a guy like DeAndre Hopkins back, that really changes the dynamic of that wide receiver room and gives Kyler Murray another option. Right now, they're only sitting at, 2-3. They only had one really bad loss, and that was to KC. And that was a game for which we kind of expected them to blow them out in. They were fairly competitive when it came to the Rams, a lot more competitive when it came to the Eagles. They're literally a field goal away from going to overtime and possibly beating them. They've already shown they have the grit and determination by winning in Las Vegas in overtime already. And this is a team that can still do some really good things with that air raid offense. So that's why he's wired.
Okay. And of course, near and dear to your heart, Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, you gotta go with fired. There's no way that you can take a look at what Josh McDaniels has done so far and look at what Rich Bisaccia did last season in the wake of Henry Ruggs committing vehicular manslaughter, in the wake of the John Gruden emails, in the wake of all the bad things that are going on to the Raiders, and say that they're better at this point. Rich Bisaccia was the perfect leader for them, and Josh McDaniels has not. Their offense does not look as good as it could be, though they did have a really good appearance against Kansas City. They still couldn't get the job done. That 2-point play will be questioned for a long time. They need to get Josh Jacobs going more early into the season. That's something that they failed to accomplish. And quite frankly, do we trust that Josh McDaniels is the type of guy who can turn the situation around? I don't. I know Steve A doesn't because he's a Belichick assistant, and he just it's time to move on and fire him.
Okay. And the commander-in-chief of the artist formerly known as the Washington football team, Ron Rivera.
Yeah, Ron Rivera, you gotta fire him. He rode the coattails of Cam Newton for a long time to the detriment of Cam Newton's career. That's why his career ended more sooner than it should, because he just kept playing through injuries. He made a quote this week that basically, when they asked what's the difference in the teams in the NFC East compared to his, he said quarterback. Well, guess what? You're the head coach of that team. You can change quarterbacks. You have a really good veteran on the bench in Taylor Heineke. You have a promising rookie. It's now how you keep on sticking with Wentz. That's only your fault. You are the decision maker. It's clear that the defense is not what it used to be during the 2020 season. Even though Chase Young isn't there, even if Chase Young was on the field, they still wouldn't be that dominant force that they were. And at 1-4, do they look like a team that's going to rebound? I don't think so. I think it's time for fresh new leadership all across Washington, definitely from the coaching staff and maybe in the front office as well.
Okay, and let's bring it on home with our final coach being considered for Fired or Wired. Let's talk about another coach that has been mentioned a few times on the show. As I mentioned, the heir to the FedEx fortune, Mr. Arthur Smith.
Yeah, definitely wired. There's no reason in this world Arthur Smith should be on the hot seat. As a matter of fact, he should honestly be in consideration for Coach of the Year for what he's done with the team and the roster that he has. Let's not act like this Atlanta Falcons roster is remotely close to being good, but they're quite frankly 3 or 4 plays away from being 4-1 or 5-0. Incredibly competitive against New Orleans. They should have beat LA. That loss against Tampa Bay, come on, that roughing the passer call was absolute bull jive. Marcus Mariota is looking a lot better than we expected. Drake London is breaking out. Kyle Pitts is finally starting to get the ball rolling. Though Cordero Patterson is out for the season at this point or is on IR. He was balling at the beginning of the year. Their run game is very, very strong. And now you see why Derrick Henry had so much success under Arthur Smith, because of those big holes that his offensive line creates. You look at the defensive side of the ball, they've improved a lot from last year. AJ Terrell still looks to be CB1 and a top 5 cornerback in the league. Casey Hayward, though a little bit older, still very serviceable. And they don't have one of those elite pass rushers yet. Once they go on and get an elite pass rusher, this Atlanta Falcons team will be the kings of the NFC South. I'm telling you right now, you keep an eye on the Atlanta Falcons. They could sneak into the playoffs this year as a 6th or 7th seed. Watch out next year. They're my favorites to win the NFC South.
Okay. Well, you stuck the landing. Admittedly, the routine leading up to it, choppy, obviously due to things beyond your control. So, obviously, you and I do a little something, and you have some other things going on. So tell people, Brock, about where people can find your work, what are the things you're working on, and how they can follow you on social media.
Absolutely. So you can follow me right down here, MNS Today on Twitter, Midnight Sports Today. I talk sports all the time, throw my opinions out there, just talk story, share opinions, debate a lot of fun, great way to kill time. You can find my website, midnightsportstoday.org. Also, bio is in my Twitter as well. I have some nice articles on there. Just dropped a 2-for-1 special. If you love Hawaii football, did an interview with Mike Washington, former University of Hawaii wide receiver, alongside we just released a new article as well. Go check those out. Just posted those on my Twitter. But for the big show, of course, you, Bill, and I, we do a show called College Football Forecast. Basically, we talk everything college football. We give our predictions, we give our takes, and we always bring on a very knowledgeable special guest that dissect their brain to get their insight on college football. A lot of fun, great knowledge. And if you're looking to compete in any mock drafts, or if you're in a dynasty fantasy league or anything like that, and you want to know who's the top college prospects, come listen to us. We drop all the knowledge for you guys.
And I have to, of course, go to today's champion, Mellow, my man, Mellow Williams. Tell people what you're working on, where they can find your work and follow you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. First and foremost, thanks for having me on the show. As always, you can find me here every week with these great gentlemen on the panel discussing sports right here on No Huddle Necessary every Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also find me on Twitter Spaces every Sunday, 6:15 or 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time till 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time with Nuts and Bolts NFL recap show of the early games from around the week in the NFL. And I'll also be making an appearance on the association through with Nuts and Bolts Sports. And my work is always found on nutsandboltsports.com. And you can find me on all social media @_Mellow Williams.
Excellent, 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 excellent. And watch these extremely important announcements.
Nuts and Bolts Sports Draft Central will be live from the Reese's Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. Our scouts Jeff Barnes and Bill Carroll will be on hand to break down the performances of the participants in this year's Reese's Senior Bowl. So make sure you tune in for all the coverage. As also, make sure you tune in to NFL Network on Saturday, February 5th, 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central.
We are OUT out. I will see you all in 1 week.